I was diagnosed with PSC in 2004. Also been very healthy most of my life. So, at the time of diagnosis, I was still pretty healthy, and the only thing that was abnormal about me was liver function tests. And after about 9 months of various medical tests run, many invasive, they finally decided, oh, you have PSC. And they told me, no, not unlike what others have been told, that, you know, well, you may need a liver transplant in 10 years. And 10 years to me at that time was a long way off, so I was able to just pretty much completely put it out of my mind at that time, as I had no symptoms. 3 years later, that changed. I started with the #1 symptom, I think, for PSC patients, which is pruritus. And pruritus is itching, if people don't know already. And itching, I itched everywhere from the roof of my mouth to the tips of my toes. Not the kind of normal itching that normal people would experience, I think. So that was a real eye-opener. Luckily, I was able to get it controlled mostly by medication. I don't think most people have had that success, but in my case, I was able to be itching relatively controlled and alleviated with some medications that, while nasty and had some side effects of their own, kept the itching more or less at bay. So I kind of continued that way for about 3 or 4 years. The disease is a progressive disease. So things in my case continued to progress and become worse, and I developed additional symptoms. I developed ascites, which are fluid sacs in the abdomen, and I suffered from insomnia, which is a very common complaint of PSC patients. And the insomnia and the itching together can really just ruin your life. It can be very difficult to manage. So my symptoms continued to progress. As my symptoms progressed, I tried to combat them with exercise and various other techniques, mostly unsuccessful, but at least to put me in reasonable physical condition. Then I was overseas for a number of weeks and came back and had almost a complete loss of energy, and saw my medical team at that time, and they evaluated me and said, you need to be listed for transplant. A very exciting experience if you've never had it. Being told that you're a candidate for transplant really changes your life. You know, you start thinking about your mortality, and you start thinking about, you know, what's important to you. So, but in any case, the listing process was also another set of fairly invasive tests and procedures and evaluations. And after getting through all of that, I was finally listed for transplant about 6 months after that initial crash, and received a transplant about 6 months later, which really puts me on the lucky side, because many people don't get transplanted for years, if ever. Some patients with PSC who have transplants won't develop new symptoms, but some do. There seems to be a fair amount of dispute about just exactly what that percentage is, but in my case, unfortunately, I'm on the wrong side of the curve. I do have symptoms, and I have the PSC disease again, even with the transplanted liver. Well, my symptoms are relatively minor right now, kind of back where I was when I was first diagnosed, I would say, in some respects. But now I have the additional complications of the symptoms from liver transplant, you know, maintenance of liver transplant, which are causing me more grief right now.